Hello, I'm Lauren, a noob in this whole art world. I just completed Inktober and I really want to talk about how it went. I'm going to talk about sort of some of the general things that happened, flip through the sketches that I completed, and talk about some of my favorite supplies that I had during that time. The first thing was a wild ride. I had so much fun. For me, participating in Inktober was more about having a challenge set for myself. It wasn't sort of exterior at all. It was all for me, something that I could be working on daily and working towards. And one thing that I feel that I struggle with greatly is sketching things, and it gave me a great way to practice that and sort of push myself outside some of the maybe boundaries that I've put up on this beginning of my art journey. I did see on Instagram someone talk about how Inktober should be moved to another month that is less busy, and I could not agree more. It has been a crazy busy month. I hosted Thanksgiving, there was Halloween, there was a destination wedding, I bought a new car. It's been a big month, but I was able to complete everything that I set out to complete. I didn't do the official Inktober prompt list. One of the main reasons being that I am not a confident sketcher in any way. I really haven't sketched prior to like a month or two ago, and just the first prompt on the official list being gargoyle totally scared me off that. There were other prompts that sounded like more fun, but I felt like it wasn't a good starting place. So I was recommended a list by Your Moss Princess for mosstober 22 is the hashtag on Instagram. And the prompts there just seemed a lot more approachable, as well as every Friday was listed as a day of rest, and that seemed to fit really well for what I was wanting to accomplish with this first time trying Inktober. And there were so many firsts, so much trying new things. I felt pushed but not pressured. I didn't feel like I had to post something every day. I did continue to do some kind of art on a daily basis, but some days I would maybe do a couple, other days I would maybe just sketch something out. It was pretty loose. It wasn't like one drawing a day and definitely posted every day. I did find that pre-planning out in advance what I wanted to do with each prompt was a great time saver, because I had a jumping off point to start with every time. So these were the hero products, Micron's Pit Artist Fine Liners in 03, 05, 07, and B. I initially started doing almost everything with this 0.3 and I accidentally left the lid off and it dried out and died. And that was a very good thing, I think, because it forced me to really start trying this new pen that I got by Sailor. It has a fewed nib, which has this like angle, and you can get really thin and very thick lines with this. I did also buy the converter. So it was filled with a non-water soluble ink that I was able to suck up into the converter, and the ink didn't clog this nib, which it does on some of my other pens, like on my Lamy. And I was able to get really thick and really thin lines, and it just was an awesome pen to use, and I would say it's now my favorite. So I was very glad when the fine liner dried up on me, because I think I was relying on it too heavily to begin with, and I really got into this pen, and it was great fun. I am also glad that before Inktober started that I did purchase a new brush for my watercolors that was a little bigger. This sketchbook is much bigger than anything I've worked in before. Normally I am doing pieces that are like about this big, so I was doing pieces that were twice the size, and I just needed something bigger. So by Da Vinci, this is the Cassioio. Ooh, there's a lot of vowels there. This is in a size 2. The sizing is a little bit different, but it was able to hold a lot of water and a lot of paint, and I was able to actually paint some larger things with it very easily. And finally, this eraser. I've never had one of these Staedtler art erasers before, and this is magical. The paper this is a Stillman and Byrne sketchbook that I'm using, the Beta series, in an A4 size, and the paper, this eraser, like, it doesn't mess with it at all. It's so gentle, pulls up the lines. I think it was even more gentle than like the kneaded eraser that I had. So I really, really loved this too. Okay, so I just want to do a sketchbook flip through. This is the first time I'm doing this. So this first pages here were just the planning. I have the prompts, a calendar, and just some thumbnail sketches of what I thought I might like to do. Day 1 of Mosstober 22 was paint your plant. So these are 5 house plants that are in my house. I then did one of the first things that is very new. I tried a cartoon. So day 2 was sharp, and this is a little hedgehog riding a broom. Being that it was spooky season, I did want to include some Halloween elements in some of them. So I quite like witches, so I got myself a little witch hedgehog. Day 3, the prompt was tattoos. This is a sketch of a flower from my parents' garden this summer. And if I was to get a tattoo right now, I think it would be a floral tattoo. So that's why I chose to sketch this flower. And it's so big. It's so much bigger than anything that I've sketched before. But I think it still looks really nice. So I was really pleased with that. Day 4 was to make a poster. So another example of something that I would have never done were it not for Inktober. I would have never thought to make a poster. I never would have tried something from Paris. The reference photo I used was a photo that I took while I was in Paris, and it's sort of looking up under the Eiffel Tower, and it's actually at night, the reference photo. And I knew there was no way I was going to be able to capture the very unique perspective that it was in. Again, very much a beginner. So I kind of embraced that it wasn't going to be a perfect perspective and made it a little more off-kiltery, I guess, than it would be. And I quite like how this turned out as well. I also used quinacridone gold for the background, which is just, well, it's such a beautiful color. Day 5 was monochrome. So I used a fountain pen with water-soluble ink in it and sketched a leaf. Day 6 was to sketch an unconventional vase, and I was just trying to think of the most unconventional vase that I could think of, and I thought a house. So I got some little row houses and put flowers in the chimneys. I don't love it, but day 7 was a rest day. Then day 8 was tarot. I chose to use that very classic sun, and this one I didn't actually use any ink. I was not only very sort of free with like the list that I chose or how fast I went through things, but also what medium I was feeling that day. I did want to do a lot of sketching and using ink, but I didn't feel like I had to necessarily every single day, because really at the end of the day, the challenge being set is being set by me. And whatever I think I'm going to be getting sort of the most out of it is probably what I should be doing. So after that I had sketched this, it just very much didn't seem like it needed a black outline, and I felt drawn to try some gouache with it. The color of this, I don't know if it's a river or a path, turned out real yucky, but the hills are kind of cool, and the face of the sun I think looks pretty cool. Day 9 was to use a unfamiliar medium. So I actually did my first block print. I've been wanting to try that, and I bought the kit, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to try that. So I took that flower that I had sketched day 3. So I transferred it to a Speedy Carve block, which is this sort of pink eraser material, and I carved it out with little knives, and I inked it up with a brayer, and this was the best image that I printed from that little run that I did. So I really love this. I want to try more of this lino cutting and printing And so this was my unfamiliar medium of day 9, and it might be the one that I'm happiest with of the entire month. So I was pretty happy with that one. And it's the only one not in the sketchbook. I should maybe tape it in. 10 was something red, so that's down here. The unfamiliar medium, I was thinking about trying to print it here, and things just didn't work out. So this is day 10, something red. For some reason, I wanted to draw a red envelope, and I love red and pink together. I don't necessarily love this red and this pink together, but it is what it is. The next day was only 1 hour, and I normally spend only 1 hour on each of these, max. So I thought I should shorten that a little bit to like half an hour, and tried a little cauldron with some bubbles. Day 11 was homesick, and this is a ink and watercolor painting of the home that I grew up in. I don't love it, but it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. The sky over here, I quite like how that turned out. Day 13 was vintage, and nothing says vintage to me like gold for some reason. And I really love black cat. These aren't outlines. Black cat silhouettes. So, and again, I'm just working so much bigger than I ever would, which I think is why I don't like this one. Any sort of urban sketching that I've done with blacking out the windows, I think works better because I'm working much smaller. But it didn't work so good when I went this big. So if I were to do this again, I wouldn't black the windows. I would have painted more in the windows with different colors with some reflections. Day 14 was another rest day. It was another Friday. And then day 15 was magic. This is the first time that I've ever tried to sketch a face, like a whole face up close, and it definitely looks like a face. So that's something that was kind of fun. Day 16, something hairy. I had painted a sort of trial Inktober sketch of a bat just to see if this was something that I maybe wanted to do for a month. And I really wanted to try the face again. And it's not the same bat, but I wanted to try a bat face. So he was my something hairy. Day 17 was favorite fruit. And although I love pears, I don't know if it would be my favorite fruit. But I've had this picture of a pear in my phone and been wanting to try it. This one's done with pencil crayons. It was another day that I wasn't really feeling the ink as much, and it's okay. Day 18, the prompt was shrink/stretch, and I drew a bridge because it shrinks and stretches. And this one I think is one of my favorites of the month. The sky turned out very pretty, I think, and the reflection was quite fun to do. So both the inking and the watercolor came together quite nicely there. Everything goes together really well, I think anyway. Day 19 was plant person. So I drew this little dude. I wasn't loving it. I didn't have a great idea. So he just turned into this little dude. This is actually day 22 who's here, rotten/moldy. It's a rotten egg. Again, I didn't have a great idea. Cartoons aren't something that I've really tried drawing before. I mean, I haven't tried drawing anything really before. So it was kind of fun to try a cartoon, but I don't love it. Day 20, the prompt was bones. I attempted sketching the skeleton of a hand, which was kind of cool. I didn't know that we had so many bones, like right in here. In the background, this is moon glow, which, I mean, just ignore the hand. Look at this, moon glow is the most beautiful thing. It's hyped up, it seems a lot, but I think it definitely deserves all the hype that it gets. Another day of rest, and then day 23, the prompt was fish. And I have been wanting to try to do a watercolor red snapper, or fish really, of any red fish for quite a while. This is another one that I think turned out really well. This went through a really ugly phase, like really ugly. And it's amazing sometimes, the really ugly phase, it just sort of can stay there, or sort of comes out the other side and looks kind of cool. And I think these fish kind of came together at the end there. Day 24 was duplicate. This is sort of a mathy, slightly fractal pattern. The colors, let's just focus on not the colors that are there. Day 25, the prompt was piercing. I wanted to try a nose with a piercing in it. That went really sideways really fast, so I thought maybe I would try like a piercing eye. That was kind of cool. Again, another thing I would have never tried had it not been Inktober or mosstober. Day 26 was bug, and I drew the beetle. So many beetles, but there's a reason why people sketch beetles. They're super cool. Again, he's huge. I would have never tried working this big without this sketchbook and Inktober. Then we have the last few days. It's amazing how fast you can talk through them. It took a whole month to draw them, but bam, we're through looking at them. Day 27 was miniature with these little houses. I wish I would have mixed different colors, but they sort of got a fun little sort of folk art kind of feel. Day 29, the prompt was spikes, and I thought about like a railway with spikes in it. So I used the same combination for the sky of paint that I used for the bridge. Oh, there's the bridge. That I used for the bridge in here. I use this combination of cerulean blue and cobalt blue, and I think it just makes like a very pretty sky. Like having that cobalt just sort of at the top with the cerulean. I really like how those skies are coming out, and then some sort of purpley darks within it. Getting very close to the end, I did a still life of some Halloween candy because we were only one day away from Halloween at that point. And then the last day was pen only, which I interpreted as ink only. So this is just with ink, black and gold ink. And that was the end of my first foray into Inktober. Will I do it again? Yes, I would definitely do it again. I loved it. I actually think I might do it again, not in October. One thing that I did miss out on, I think, a little bit was the sort of seeing other people's work. Not as many people were doing the mosstober list, and I didn't have as much time as I wanted to be able to sort of look at other people's work and sort of talk about it back and forth and things like that. If I were to do it again, and I might even do it again, like next month, find another list and go through and have these prompts, because they really did push me. I painted and drew and tried things that I don't think I would have tried otherwise. And I do think I came out the other end with more understanding of my materials, a better understanding of some of the colors that I have, more confidence to try things that I maybe wouldn't have tried before, which really was what the whole thing was about. Did you do Inktober? Did you have a good time? If you want to stick around and see other videos from a noob's perspective, please subscribe, hit like if you liked this video, and we'll see you around. Bye!